Call the meeting to order for a special meeting of the Bonita Springs Fire Control and Rescue District, February 3rd, 2013, for interviews for the vacant commissioner's position. Please rise. Pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The question that I have, it's my understanding through what the chief has told me, that while we are interviewing these people, everybody else is going to be, the other candidates are all in the room at the same time. It's not an individual. In other words, we don't have one candidate in here, ask them questions, and then bring the other one in. They're all going to be sitting in the room. So, I mean, we're doing this alphabetically, but the further down the list you are, the more of an advantage you have in the interview process, in my mind, because you're going to hear the questions and you're going to have more time to prepare for the answers. And I have a problem with that. I don't know how my fellow commissioners feel, but I think that there should only be one candidate in the room at a time, and the rest can sit outside until we call them in.
If I may, according to council, the board can request that the candidates relieve themselves from the room at the time. However, they can't demand that the candidates vacate the room.
Has there any notice been given to candidates that they have a special time that they will be heard? Somebody has told me. Okay, so if they have special times, they may not even be here.
Yes, sir. That is correct.
Then that confuses the matter thoroughly. So some people could be here and observe the whole thing. Some guy could just walk in at his appointed time.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
I didn't know that either, that they were going to schedule times. I thought all candidates were going to be here, and then one by one they'd be called. But I don't know how the rest of the board feels about it, but I would prefer to ask that other candidates not be in the room while we interview them individually.
Mr. Chairman, I agree 100. If there's going to be more than one candidate in here, then I ain't asking any questions. Because it's for the same reason you said, by the time you get to the last people, they can spin their answer around to what they've heard the others say and judging your reaction. And I want to know if there's more than one in the room. Joe, let me know, because I feel strongly about that.
Commissioner Fitzgerald?
I think if we have the right to ask them to absence themselves from individual hearings, we should do that. But if we don't have the right, and we can't throw them out. So if you want to, Chairman, you want to ask them to leave the room, it's fine with me.
Evans?
I would like to ask them to leave the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, the other question that I have is that we've allotted half an hour per candidate, and we've scheduled those times. One of the reasons I would have thought everybody would be here is if we don't need to use the whole 30 minutes, we could move this process along a little quicker, because 30 minutes with some people, and there may be some that only last 15 or 20 minutes, and apparently the way this is written up now, we're kind of locked into this half-hour time slot per person, and we just sit here and wait if we're finished. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That was a question that the administration, we discussed, and we felt that 15 minutes may not be enough time. Half hour may be too much time. However, we didn't want to limit the board to any less or any more than they needed. But if there is a candidate that is here prior to his time frame, then I would say that the board is certainly within their means to begin the interview early for the said candidate, should they be present.
Mr. Chairman, I for one would appreciate this, because I'm on the water task force, and they have a meeting today at 1 o'clock. I've already sent a communication to them saying that I would probably not arrive till more like 1:30 to 20 of 2. But if we happen to pick, I'm not advocating we rush, but if we end up being done at any place we can get somebody else that's here in, I would say do it.
I would suggest if the process is moving along efficiently, that we could attempt to contact the other candidate and have them show up early, should that be necessary.
Excellent.
Were the candidates asked to make a presentation?
No, sir, they were not asked to make a presentation, just to entertain and interview questions from this board.
I know, I recognize some of the names on here, but there's a couple that I don't. So as was mentioned, if there's more than one candidate in the room, please bring it to my attention so that we can at least request that they wait outside until it's their turn.
Yes, sir.
It's my understanding we do not take a vote today.
Yes, sir, that is correct. There will be abstaining from any voting today. That will take place at the next board meeting, which is next Monday,
The 10th.
the 10th. Yes, sir.
And if there's no consensus at that board meeting, the seat remains vacant until the election, correct?
If there is no consensus, then that seat will remain vacant until the election. However, the board, I've been instructed by council that the board cannot abstain. Each individual member must cast a vote and cannot abstain.
What is a consensus? 3, you must, in order to elect, you must have 3 affirmative votes?
Yes, sir. And it's not a individual, each board member does not vote individually for a candidate. A board member must make a motion to appoint, and then second, discussion, and vote, as typically is done with each motion.
And what do we do in the event that a motion is not made in one of the instances to support a candidate? That candidate's eliminated, or?
Yes, sir. If the board does not make a motion to appoint a particular candidate, that candidate is no longer viable for the board to appoint at that
Same way as
particular
if
time.
a motion is made and it's not seconded, that candidate would be eliminated?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So, Joe, let's see if I understand something. Let's suppose hypothetically, which John Smith is not running, that one of us makes a motion for John Smith. It dies for lack of a second. You're telling me that later on we can't come back and remake a motion for John Smith and if it got seconded, vote on it. Is that what you're saying?
Theoretically, is my understanding, you can come back and make another motion should nobody be chosen
Right.
during that board meeting. Another member can make a motion to appoint that.
Suppose at that board meeting on the 10th that we end up with what's called a Mexican standoff. Is it not possible that at the next meeting a motion could be made, and if it's seconded, you vote on it again?
I would have to check with council on that, but I believe that the board will have the opportunity to interview or make a decision at a later time as well. Would like to confirm with council that that would be appropriate.
Yeah. That would be my guess, too, so. Okay.
Let me clarify for myself. If there are several candidates that don't receive a motion in their favor, there is no second, of course, that candidate is eliminated?
Yes, sir.
So now, next Monday night, on our board meeting, is it possible for that candidate's name to then reappear?
Well, there's no vote today.
And I know no vote today. Also, there's no vote today. Okay.
So this will only happen at the board
It
meeting?
only can happen at the board meeting,
Right.
right?
Yes, sir.
So, okay.
Today is strictly for informational gathering of each candidate, and
So
then the board
all-
will make seconds or make a motion to appoint a particular candidate at that time. If candidate is second, the motion is seconded, that's when the board will have discussions about that particular candidate and whether or not they should be appointed in a vote
What
taken.
happens in the event of a tie?
The seat goes unfilled until the election.
No, a tie for two different people to be appointed. Is that possible to happen?
No.
Well, if we go down the list one by one, and somebody makes, well, you do, isn't that how it's done? You
I think
bring
so.
each name up?
Yes.
You-
Well,
All right.
once you don't go down the list, somebody has to make a motion.
And a second, they're gonna
Right.
vote on that.
And you vote, if somebody makes a motion,
That's 3 votes, that's the end.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. All right, that,
And you do not, the board does not have to make a motion for each candidate. The board can make a motion for one candidate, that candidate gets approved.
that
and
was
it's-
my
and
question.
it's
Okay, I
completed.
wasn't sure from legal standpoint if we had to have a motion and a second for each individual candidate.
No, sir.
Correct.
No motions today, is that correct?
Yes, sir, no motions today.
So we interview today,
And at the board meeting, we
and
make
the
a
board meeting we
decision.
vote.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Is the first candidate, Mr. Bachman, is here?
Welcome, Mr. Bachman. Are there any other candidates in the room? No.
No, sir, I do not see any. Mr. Bachman, if you would, please.
Is the receptionist set up to tell the others if, when they show up, that we've asked that they not come in until they're called?
We'll go check right now.
Okay.
Good morning. I'm going to turn this over to the board, and they will direct the interview process, Mr. Bachman.
Thank you for putting in your application, Mr. Bachman. I think we should probably start at that end. Do you want to go first?
We have your resume, Mr. Bachman, thank you very much. I know that you're with the BSU board. Could you just give me a brief overview of why you would be interested in becoming a fire commissioner?
I've been in Bonita Springs for 30 years, raised my family here. I've been involved in the community since I've been here. Been active in the chamber in the past. I was a director there. I was director of the year in 2000. Involved in the '95 flood aftermath and so forth with the chamber folks. Was a Rotarian for 21 years here. My family's been raised here, went to school here, graduated from Estero High School. I got involved in the BSU board in 2000. Have been there since that time. I've been president of the board 6 years and am currently president. And I've watched the fire board. I'm not a fireman. I don't have a fire background, but I've watched the fire board, from a distance. I've known Dan Gorley in the past, through chamber activities in the community and so forth. I think you've done a great job as a group. We've got a good fire department. We've got well-trained employees, and it's really just looking for another opportunity to help serve the community.
We're involved, the fire department's involved with the emergency medical service, and our goal is to bring EMS into the fire department. Do you have a position on that? Are you in favor of ambulances in the fire department?
I would say I followed it primarily in the papers. I've been to the session that you had where you came to an agreement that didn't get to be an agreement ultimately. I was at the last session with the county commission. I would say generally I support the concept of having local control. I can't say that I'm up to speed enough in terms of the financial side and the pieces that go with that to totally support it, but it certainly looks to me like there's a need for additional ambulances. And I would say generally, I'm certainly leaning that way.
Okay, thank you. Another issue that's on the mind of some of the commissioners is consolidation, or some of the residents of Lee County. consolidation of the fire districts. Do you have any familiarity of consolidation or an opinion?
Well, I've seen, again, I've seen it from the paper side and, and from the general side. I know that in some respects there is consolidation that's happened, and in part with the fire department here doing the reviews of building plans and those kinds of things for other districts. You know, I'm generally in favor of that kind of a consolidation where we can share services and so forth. But I'm also very comfortable saying I like our fire department being independent.
Okay. I have one more question, please. You may not be aware, but in Tallahassee right now, there is some legislation to change the pension system of municipal workers in Florida and giving them a 401k instead of a defined contribution plan instead of a defined benefit plan. The proposal that's up there right now excludes police officers and firefighters. They would remain in their defined benefit plan. Do you have an opinion or any idea?
I really don't.
Okay. I know these are tough questions, but I wanted to ask the question anyway. I think that's all the questions, Mr. Bachman. I thank you very much.
Thank you.
Commissioner Forbes?
Were you at the meeting that we had on the 27th between the county and us?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'll get back to that. What's your educational background specialty?
I grew up in Iowa, went to school at Iowa State University, graduated from Iowa State with a bachelor's in science. Sociology was my major. I have gone back to school subsequently and done a fair amount of accounting work and had started a master's in business prior to relocating to Florida, and kind of that went away. I'm a general contractor in Florida and North Carolina, broker, real estate broker in Florida, and a community association manager in Florida.
Are you active in the real estate business right now?
Yes, sir.
And what company is that?
It's WBG Southwest Florida. We do primarily seasonal and annual rentals and a small amount of real estate sales.
Okay.
What, based on your observation, that meeting of the 27th, what's your thought?
Well, I'm happy to see that the fire ambulance or the ambulance EMS services moving back into the fire stations. I think that's a help, and you know, I'm certainly pleased to see that part of it. I'm encouraged, I guess, that I think there's still the potential to make a deal. I'm concerned that I think the county doesn't seem to be as receptive as I'd like to see them in terms of trying to get the deal itself put together. But hopefully, you know, over the next month, the language can get worked out. I mean, it certainly seemed to me there was the basis of a deal there.
Thank you.
Commissioner Conforti?
I have no other question.
I've got a follow-up question on the transport issue that an answer that you had for Commissioner Fitzgerald. If one of the issues you had was the financial side of it and not knowing what that would be, I understand that. But I'm going to ask you directly, if it was cost-effective for Bonita Springs Fire District to provide their own ambulances, and we can document that financially we can do this because we already answer all the calls now, and it's just a matter of doing the transport to the hospital, which we get a revenue stream from. With that being said, would you support the transport issue?
Yeah, I would support the transport issue based on that, and I'm not sure that it even needs to be totally a financial break even. I think if the county is unwilling to provide adequate EMS service, and the fire department can do it on its own, it's worth something to me as a citizen to have better service. And I think I'm willing to, worst case, pay something for it, but it's, I'm not willing to overspend for things. But I think the safety and the service to our community is the most important thing.
Okay, thank you. Now, having said that, what do you think we do well?
Well, you certainly respond well from the fire department. I think you've got a well-trained department. I believe you've maintained your facilities and expanded as you needed to with the growth in the area. I know you've got another location in East Bonita for future to deal with future growth. From the little bit that I know, I would like to see reserves for equipment when it's needed. I want to see the employees continue to have adequate training, which I think they have at this point, but I certainly don't want those things to go backwards. And as you need new equipment, I would like to see reserves adequate generally to be able to fund the things without having to borrow money and do those kinds of things, and still, be fiscally responsible in terms of budgets and all of the financial side.
Where do we need improvement in your mind?
I'm not sure you communicate with the public here as well as you could, and I don't know how you fix that. Totally. The stuff in terms of the EMS. I don't know. I'm not sure whether the general public totally cares, but I don't know that they've gotten all the information, and I don't want to see fights started between the local folks and the county. But I think it's down to a communication thing, and I've heard the things with the couple of meetings I've been at on the timing, and there seems to be a difference in, how people count the time to get to an incident.
Well, that's a fallacy because there's only one place that keeps the time clock now and always has been, so that's the only comment I have there.
Well, I understand that, but I don't think that's the perception.
Right.
Or that it's being publicized the same from both sides. So I think is probably the biggest thing that I think would help.
Okay.
And you have said that most of the information that you have about the fire district and about the commission and about the running of the fire district you have garnered from the newspapers.
Well, it's a combination of news, but I'd say that's the primary thing I've seen over the years. I've served on the utility board with Frank, who's left, and we talk periodically, and so I get Frank's side. I did meet with the chief a couple of weeks ago and got better updated. But I'd say generally, I have not attended meetings until recently.
Thank you. Commissioner Forbes, did you have?
Yeah, a follow-up question. Should you be appointed to fill this vacancy, is it your intention to run for election to that position in November?
Yes, sir.
That was my next question.
Oh.
So you just asked and answered my question.
Mental telepathy.
Okay. Anybody else have any
I have
further
just
questions?
I have a statement I want to make, and I will make it to all of the candidates. I hope that any candidate that has a strong personal animosity towards the department, towards the union, towards the salaries, or towards the commissioners would consider that very carefully and decide whether he should continue in this race for a commissioner. It's just a general statement. I'm going to say it to everybody because over the years, a lot of candidates have gotten on with that problem, and then they don't come in. And And the object is to represent the public and the department fairly and honestly and do the best you possibly can, and I'm sure you would do that. So, thank you.
I have one more question. If you were appointed to this seat and subsequently elected to it, would you be willing to go through the Florida Association Special District Training to become a certified district official?
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions or comments.
Could I just respond to Mr. Fitzgerald
Sure.
briefly? You know, I don't plan to come on as a thorn in anybody's side or try and change the world. That's not my intent. I think with the past that in serving on the chamber board and so forth and the Rotary board and most recently being involved with Bonita Springs Utilities, I've worked as hard as I can to bring consensus to the groups that I've been on, and I think it's been beneficial to everybody in doing that.
I thank you for that statement too. That's not really made to personal statements here. It's going to be made to everybody because we have candidates with various backgrounds and various ideas of why they want to be on the board, you know. And
that's
you
certainly
have an obligation to consider it very, as well as we have an obligation to consider what you would be on. So I thank you.
And that's a part of why I have put my name in, is to avoid additional dissension, if you want to call it, whatever it is.
No, we're not looking for dissension, but I appreciate that very much, and I welcome you and invite you to attend our meetings and get a better idea of what we are and who we are. And if appointed, I'm sure you'll serve well. So thank you.
Thank you.
And one more question. If you were not the candidate chosen to fill this remaining seat, will you run, would you feel you would still run for a seat in November?
I would give it serious consideration.
Thank you. I have no further questions.
I have no further questions.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
I'll see you out, Mr. Bachman.
See, that only took 15 minutes. Apparently 15 minutes is enough time for candidates.
I think so.
Probably, sure.
What was our
Wonder
next?
if we can get some water or anything to,
Iris? Could you get Mr. Forbes have somebody get Mr. Forbes some water, please?
Water.
Some
Water.
water
For the commissioners?
just
Mr. Forbes. yes,
something to wet
I'd like
my
some,
whistle.
Seeing how
That's the only way I'm
seeing
gonna
how
get
you
it.
probably don't have any scotch.
You will need it about 1 o'clock.
Okay. We didn't miss anything. There was nothing, I think.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
I think we covered a lot of bases.
I'm looking forward to the next one. That's just my personal.
Who is this next guy? Alexander Grant.
Is Mr. Grant here?
Is anybody else out there? Oh.
You see, they were scheduled at times, is from what, I don't know how that happened, but.
Yeah, I would have had them all here at the same time and just
Well,
run
who-
through this.
I don't know how it got, how we got the word got out for times, at 10 o'clock. And
I don't understand why we can't vote today. I mean, this is
The
a
council,
public- This is a public meeting.
yeah, the council, as far as what I understand, Terry Lewis advised that it should be done at a regularly scheduled board meeting.
Probably because it would be on the agenda.
Yeah.
This is advertised.
It is advertised,
It's
yeah.
a public meeting, so.
But it's not an agenda item, though. I mean,
doesn't have to be.
We can confirm, I can confirm that with Terry Lewis if the board would like to do so.
I don't
And
have,
additionally, Iris is working on rearranging the schedule for the candidates.
Yeah.
What did he say?
The mics are.
Mics are on?
Hey, Greg.
We may be, Steve, we may be able to move up when we eat lunch too.
No.
Because that's on that little chain of events.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.